Here's my review of The Marvels. I actually had a lot of fun with this movie, but at the same time, I think that a lot of the problems in this movie are basically like I think this movie kind of showcases a lot of the main problems with the MCU as a whole, where there's a lot of just comedy that just does not need to be there. The villain is weak, and a lot of the story just feels rushed. And that's what a lot of this movie feels like. But I personally had a fun time with it because I went in kind of just wanting to have a fun time. And if you go in with that mindset, I think that you will be able to have a fun time. Where the whole main premise of this movie is like the gimmick is where um Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel, and then Photon, Monica Rambeau, whenever they use their powers, they like swap places. That's like the whole gimmick. And then it's kind of them trying to deal with it as they fight our villain Darben, who is so bland. And like that's why I say that this movie kind of all the problems with this movie kind of encapsulate all the problems with the MCU as a whole, where it's bland villains and forced comedy. That's a lot of that stuff here. Like Darben, like I don't care. Like her, and I'm pretty sure like her whole plot, like she finds this special power, this hammer thing. She kind of just feels like Ronan the Accuser from Guardians One, but like her, I'm pretty sure her whole plot is basically like plot. I keep saying plot. Motivation and her plan is like basically the same plan of like Lord Helmet from Spaceballs, just like suck out all the oxygen. Like unless I watched the wrong movie, like I'm pretty sure that was her main plan, which is like I don't know why. Once I kind of noticed that, I just found that kind of funny. But she doesn't really get any depth. You don't really know why she's evil. You don't really care. She's a character that's just there just to get beat up. And the whole time you're like, when they're focusing on, you're like, I don't care. Like, I don't care. I think that this movie also does have some pretty fun action. And I think that Carol as a whole, like Miss Captain Marvel herself, like I think that she's definitely written way better here than she was the previous time we saw her, like in What If, Avengers Endgame, and her first film, Captain Marvel. And like in this movie, like she actually was a lot more fun to be around. I think that was and I think that this movie as a whole is a big improvement over Captain Marvel, and I didn't even mind Captain Marvel. So take that for what you will. But I think, like I said, and also this movie's only like an hour and 45 minutes, so a lot of it feels rushed. So you never really feel like you get proper character development. So a lot of it, you're just like, it when you hear about something that's supposed to maybe be emotional, you're just like, meh. Like I said, the main gimmick is like whenever they use their powers, they switch places. So like when Carol's flying, then they switch powers on accident. Like then Miss Marvel, because since she can't fly, she's just like falling down. And like I said, she carries this whole movie. Like she's just so much fun. She's so charming, and she's like, because her whole personality is basically being like a Marvel fangirl. So it's like if you're watching this movie, you're probably like a big Marvel fan. So it's just kind of fun to like kind of have a character like that. It's just she's like single handedly is just awesome. Like you could tell like she's just having such a fun time being there. Because like the worst thing about a movie I feel like is when you could tell the actors don't want to be there. So when you could tell that an actor loves what they're doing, like and is having a fun time, it just makes it way more enjoyable to watch. And you could tell that she was just having a blast the whole time, which was just a really really good thing to see. Like I said, a lot of like the gimmicks are just them switching powers, where it's like Carol's goes in New Jersey and Kamala's house, and just like these little interactions between that. That's what kind of just like the whole gimmick is, and it's just like kind of feels repetitive, but at least it's only an hour and a half, hour 45 minutes. I do think it is pretty cool. Like there are some pretty cool shots, like when all three of them are fighting our main villain. Like there's some pretty cool shots with here, and like there are some fun fight scenes, as well as there's like this really funny scene with all the Flurkins where there's like all these Flurkins, and then they kind of just swallow all these people, so then they could transport them properly because the ship is about to explode. Because like the Flurkins can like keep stuff in like an interdimensional wormhole in their mouth because they have squid tentacles. But it's like completely insane. But it was really cool. So yeah, this entire movie is, like I said, I think it symbolizes so many problems with the main MCU as a whole. But as a movie itself, I mean, it's a fun time. Like I don't really think that this movie is really trying to be some sort of masterpiece. I've heard people saying that this is the worst Marvel movie ever made. This is one of the worst movies ever made. I'm like, I watched it. I'm like, it's pretty fun. It's like I could probably think of I'd probably rather watch this movie over like a lot of other MCU movies. Well, maybe not a lot, but a couple of them. Like it's definitely not the worst MCU movie at all. So it's like, and it is a fun movie. Like I think that people are hating on this way too much. I think you should just go in wanting to have a fun time. And I understand that I have heard people say it's like I think that these movies, because there are so many of them, and I agree with this, is that we need more than just a fun movie. And I get that, but if you go in just wanting to have fun, I think you can enjoy it. But I think that there's not really anything more. Like it's very surface level. I don't really think there's any great emotion in this movie. It's kind of just like, oh, that was fun, and then you kind of forget about it. Like that's what this movie is, but I enjoyed it for what it was.